Hello, sacred beings. Greetings. Welcome to Sacred Her Story podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest that I'm excited to share with you all. Her name is Camila Ponntes. She is in astrology and systemic healing, and she's going to share with us so much about her background, her story, but something so interesting called family constellations. Now, if you're like me, you're going to think it's like the stars, but we'll get into it. Welcome, Camila. Thank you.
Hello, Jennifer.
So, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for this wonderful invitation. It's so nice to be here with you and connect. And we were chatting before the recording start and was so good already.
It was so good, right? And then you were like interviewing me, and I'm like, wait, hold up, this is about you. So let's just get into it. So, you're an astrologer, and there's a thing you call constellations. But even before we get into that, what is your story behind why astrology, why this constellation work? Um, how did you get to this point?
I don't know if you heard about it because I almost don't talk about my past, my career past, like first life, but I was a lawyer in Brazil.
Oh,
Yeah, that was my first career as a lawyer. And in Brazil, our educational system is different than in the US. So we decide very, very early on
mm,
which university we want to pursue. And I decided to go for law school. So when I was pretty young, I was 23 years old. I graduated in law school and I took my bar. I started to work as a lawyer. And I choose law, and that's something that is interesting to talk about because our career is never like a by chance, a coincidence, it's always aligned with something. So to me, my first career as a lawyer was aligned, and like only later on I would understand that to a wound of injustice in the family.
mm,
So I had this wound, was an internal wound of injustice. And that came because of situations when my parents divorced and my father left, formed another family. And there was a lot of feelings of abandonment and injustice. And as a soul, I came with that. Like, I developed that, like, little, like, anger, like want to fix everything, save the world. Um, and I decided to go for a more tough career in the beginning, which came out years later to, yeah, that's not bring any happiness.
okay. That's so interesting. I love, how you're sharing, this is where it came from, the injustice. And it's incredible. How long were you a lawyer and when, what did, and when did it shifted?
On a job, 7 years, and then I stick around like total 10 years until I moved to the US. And that's the reason because then I got married with an American citizen that I am divorced already. We met when I was on vacation in Bali, Indonesia, on
Ooh,
a yoga retreat. So was very easy to fall in love in the paradise. And even though the relationship didn't work, I'm very grateful because I think we are always in the right place in the right time. And that story took me here where I am in the US.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And that here is your parents' divorce, then you went through your own divorce. And here you were like a lawyer, and for me, I think of a lawyer and I'm like, wow, you're of the law, and what a prestigious background. And even regardless of, your parents' divorce, you decided to say, you know what, I'm doing this. I'm going to fight for justice. And then here you go to Bali and met this man. And when you met him, you were just getting out of
I
it?
was already pursuing other passions. I was studying astrology. I had the e-commerce. I was being an entrepreneur. And this man I ended up marrying with was like an interesting situation because I ended up marrying my mom. Like he had the personality of my mom, which was the most difficult person in the family to me to deal with. Was the to me, I was perceiving that until that time with a source of pain, a painful relationship. And of course, like I had no obligation to know how to deal better with that relationship because I was the kid in that relationship. I will always be the smaller one. That's how through systemic family healing, that's we call systemic constellation. I understand that nowadays. But back then I was like still feeling guilt because I didn't know how to manage better my relationship with my mom.
Mm.
So I was just, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to avoid. I pushed away, like I kept like minimum contact with my mom back then, which that I think is okay. It's a part of the process sometimes when you're dealing with any, like how people talk nowadays, they call toxic people, toxic relationship. Um, yes, like our difficult dynamics. So sometimes it's healthy to us to just move back and like protect your own space while you're still learning how to do this. But at the same time, I felt very guilty.
Mm.
What happened, like, ended up attracting a partner that I was running away from my mom. And then I got married with, like, my mom with muscles.
How many of us can relate to that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
oh wow. Okay, so
But very angry, very dramatic, very jealous, very possessive, like just like my mom.
wow, wow. And so here you did this transition. You married this man who was like your mother, reincarnated for you to deal with this emotion, it seems like. So, because you mentioned systemic and constellation. Can you explain a bit more than that before, for those of us who don't understand when you say systemic and the constellation? Because I'm thinking the constellation in the stars, and when you dug into
Yeah.
not the stars.
Especially people get very confused, especially like my private clients, because I am an astrologer. Again, I became an astrologer first. So when I talk constellations, people think of the constellation of Taurus, Leo, Aries, because I also do readings like natal charts, transits, solar return charts, and I love it. But then later on, I want to go deeper
Mm,
than a reading. Not saying that an astrology reading cannot be deep. My readings always I go like to where I think the client needs. Sometimes it is a deep spot right there.
mhm,
So I try to always offer the most meaningful, accurate, helpful that can present during a reading. But I wanted to deal with real problems that I have
mhm,
and that I was going through. And I found out family constellation first as a client. So majority of people like first start as a client. And my first session was not a group session. That's very common. Was like a one-on-one session with my mentor, who it's Michelle Blanchard. She's like French. She's I don't know, but now I think she's like 84 years old. And I got so much from that. Was a one-on-one. So I got interested, and then I found out that there was group sessions that you can join. So I started to join those group sessions, sometimes online, sometimes in person. And then that I had like some personal experiences as example. I had the experience, I think it's the first experience when you go through a constellation and just getting back, like constellation, the name first is a method that makes um, a lot of sources of as psychotherapy,
Mm.
systemic therapy. That's why systemic healing, because it considers that we are part of a system. So we think that we are alone as an individual. So whatever I do, I come here to the US and I pursue my career and my relationships, and it doesn't matter. And that's not true. Actually, I'm deep connected to my ancestors and to the system I belong.
Interesting.
So of course that will reflect in all my choices. So it doesn't matter if I try to exclude them, as I just mentioned, like I try to exclude my mom, and then I have to include her again in a way that I can work on that. I have this opportunity. So, family constellation was created by a psychoanalyst that was also a Catholic priest. His
Oh,
name is Bert Hellinger. He passed away a few years ago, but he passed away, I think he was like 92 years old. And he was a priest for 30 years. Good part of the time he was working in South Africa with the Zulu tribe, with the Zulus. And you know, the Zulus, they have like all those traditions where they sometimes like there are toys representation, like human representations, or they play like they threw the shells, like the
interesting.
seashells,
Okay.
to represent things and people. So, in that same way, Bert Hellinger put together psychotherapy with some Zulu, like spiritual approaches, and systemic therapy and other things that, and he ended up finding out, he observed that in the Zulu tribes, they had this hierarchy, basically like who came first, who the grandmother, the parents, they had a higher hierarchy in the family system. And when that was disrespected, like comes a child, a teenager, adult, or young adult, I wanted to be right here. I want to leader, and because I'm younger, I know better.
Mhm.
That didn't work. So he started to understand that why our relationships here in the Western are so like sometimes dysfunctional, because actually like the people that lives in the nature, such as Zulu, they are much more connected with this universal laws. So he created law. He created no. He like figured out. Like he found out. He just uncovered like and registered like the laws of love, that includes the law of belonging. So everybody in the system has the right to belong. And that's why when I exclude someone or something, I end up bringing that back, because another member in the family, usually a member that came after, will represent that person. So if you, for example, if I had an alcoholic uh, parent, my father, for instance, and then I exclude him. My mom said, like, no, I don't want you to talk to your father because he hurt me, he left. So I tried to exclude him from my heart, from the family system. I end up marrying
That person.
that person or having a kid with the same kind of problems, issues.
This is so deeply resonating because I'm looking at my life and I'm like, yeah, because that was what happened with this was my second husband that I had my kids with. But my first husband reminded me, like how you were sharing, like your mom, he reminded me of actually my dad. It was the second one who reminded me of both my parents and having to heal that. So I'm just like, this is so profound. And thank you for sharing about the Zulu tribe because I don't really I've heard of it and you hear like, oh, it's more witchcraft. So, the ignorance behind that, but how you're sharing how there's a hierarchy and the laws of love, which is so intriguing and so interesting, because it is pretty chaotic here in the Western world. And as an educator, I see my teenage students and their relationship with their mother or father, that's not even there. Like parents don't want to be a parent to their teenager, but it's like, well, technically you still need to be that parent, we still need to teach. So this is really interesting how you're saying how they really have this hierarchy with the parents and the children. And you talk about the ancestors. And here in the United States, a lot of us probably don't even have those roots anymore. Like if you come from Irish descent, for me, the African descent, I don't even know if I'm actually what we call Moors here, like the natives of America, of here in Northern America, or was I actually, African from Africa? Because there's also the tribe that came from, Spain and came around North America, like through Alaska when they were connected. So there's so much history in this where, I'm so curious with that ancestral part. Like, what if you don't have that connection? How does this work with your
So this is the most interesting part. If you never know your parents, let's say you were adopted, like I do have an adopted brother. My mom adopted a boy. I was already 17 years old.
Mm,
So for many years, my brother, Elias, he knew he was adopted. He didn't know his background, his biological parents.
mm,
And still, though, he developed first some issues, like in teenager times, that were really, really connected with what was happening with his biological, but even we never heard about. I mean, we knew, my mom and I, we didn't want to share with him because he was young and was too heavy to
mm.
deal with. But he was displaying that same behaviors.
Oh, wow.
The same thing with good things. For example, I didn't come from a family of musicians or people with artistic talents like our family, our teachers, intellectual, like writers, but not like musicians or artists. But he was an artist. He's an artist. And I also came from his family. Um, there is a lot of stories like that came out in Constellations that I participated. For example, another adopted young girl, and that was very like strong one, had suicidal tendencies. She
Mm.
would want to go to a cliff or like a building and say, "I all I want is to jump."
Wow. That's intense.
Uh, and the mom didn't know, but then found out that her biological one had committed suicide that way.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes in the families, there is also loyalties. So
Mm,
you have these invisible patterns. And sometimes we are repeating something out of these loyalties because it's a loyalty, actually, it's a form like, not saying that's the right thing, but it's a kind of love.
mm.
It's kind of like, Mom, why not me? I sacrifice for you. If you're gonna go, I'm gonna go instead. I'm gonna go as well. So sometimes that Bert Hellinger used to call blind love, because we love so much our parents, even though if we never met them, even though if we think we don't like them, in the soul level, we are very grateful for life.
Mm.
And in the soul level, we really appreciate that we have to really be careful with those loyalties. So there is a way that when you see that loyalty and the entanglement is happening, you can kind of reverse that just by bringing that person back. So you don't need to occupy their place.
Oh, wow.
So you can in your heart say to, in that case, Mom, I understand you, what you did. I am no one to judge, because also when there is a lot of judgment, the exclusion is happening. So I'm grateful. I love you regardless of anything, regardless of your decision to stay or to go. You gave me the life, and that's enough. I honor you the way you are. I love you. It doesn't matter what you did. So in that way, you bring that person back the way they are. They are accepted. So you don't need to occupy their place.
Mhm.
Now you can detangle, detach it from them with love, with respect. At the same time, first you need to bring them close as they are, accept them, so you accept their destiny. And then you don't need to live their destiny, your parents' destiny. Could be, we're talking about extreme thing, but could be health, could be financial, could be a divorce pattern.
Mm.
Does that make sense, Jennifer?
Oh, yeah, this is just mind blowing how you're explaining it because it's so rich. And, you know, I'm thinking of like the people I know, my own pattern, of wow, like, and I love how you just said, just bringing them and you don't literally have to call them up and say, hey, come here, but just to bring them back in and accept them
In
as.
your heart, in your heart. And I think that's the key thing, because people usually, like, especially nowadays, we want to explain things in social media and it's a such short frame of time, and people get confused. No, but I don't like them, but I don't agree with that they did. It's not about to agree with the abuse. If there was abuse,
Mhm.
to say abuse is right is not about that. It's more about connected to reality
Mm,
with the way the things really were, understanding that every person was there acting according to their own capacity, at their own capacity. They didn't know better, they couldn't had known better, they had their limitations, and accept the fact that things they were as they do. And maybe you can still see that there is a lot of love.
yeah.
There is a lot of love regardless.
It's beautiful. It's like that saying, when we forgive someone for, just accepting them for who they are as they are, it doesn't mean that we need to go out of our way. It's just you're putting it out there like, I love you. This is just who you are. I don't need to have anything to do with you, but this is just your decision, right? You're doing the best. Understanding, I think it's from the Four Agreements, how he's I forget the author's name, but he was saying, um, understand that people are doing the best they can, with what they know, right? And
Exactly.
we don't understand, and sometimes we just face these hard things in life that who knows, like it's just too much. So you do whatever it is to release that pain or frustration, and you may do something you might regret, but you're doing the best that you can with what you know and understand, right? And
Yeah, it reminds me a short story. My teacher, my mentor, just said that like very recently. He was sharing with us that he was hiking
mm,
in the woods. Like he lives in a place like it's like Big Bear, but it's like more, I think it's East Coast. And he was saying that he was hiking nature and he saw, now let me see this, bison in English. English, let me see this animal name, bison. Just make sure I pronounce correct. Bison.
is it but
Bison, bison.
is it with
That's
the
the same, yeah. So he saw a bison, the bison saw him,
uh
and then there is like some trees, and he couldn't see the bison anymore.
uh
So he was like, "Oh my God, now I'm scared because I don't know where he is." And then suddenly the bison was in front of him
uh
because it went around, and now he was in trouble.
oh my gosh.
So so what he did, he stepped back and kind of rushed a little bit, stepping back. And then the bison just saw like he like wouldn't attack him, and left. So he was thinking, I didn't throw stones at the bison.
Yeah.
I didn't get angry, mad at the bison. Bison was just being a bison. Do I want to be closer to the bison? No. But I love the bison. The bison is the way he is. And that's it. That was so meaningful to me because to me, it's like, yes, I don't need to get closer if someone who is going to potentially hurt me, but I don't need to be mad at, and expecting them to be different, even if they are your mom or your dad or your kid, because it means from the moment that I'm expecting something from them, I am not allowing them to exist, to be who I'm still expecting they fulfill my expectations. They make me happy as a mom, as a partner, as a daughter. For daughters and sons, this is even trickier because it puts us in a place of eternal child. You never grow up. And then what happens financially?
Good stuff.
Children don't get money. Children don't make money because you're always expecting someone has to do something for me. It comes to relationships. It came a long time to relationships. I got in very dysfunctional relationships with men that they were fulfilling a father role, especially when I was younger, because I was still in my father bond, but I was still putting myself as I am in need. I need the universe, the world to give to me as a child. So I didn't position myself as an adult to be a partner, not a daughter in a relationship. So that was like we were talking before the recording start about like how to be in a relationship as a woman and be financially, emotionally independent and still to be able to receive and to give, to exchange.
That's so, so profound, everything you're saying, because it's like we see it all around us with the people we know, right? With people hurting other people. And it's like, it goes back to that relationship they had with the parents, is what I'm hearing from what you're saying, that systemic healing, the family constellation of trying to feel this place as an adult, still being a child, wanting that parent to love us with that, what did you, expectation. And then we try to find that in other people around us. And when they don't meet that expectation, we get angry. We act a certain way that's childish, right? So this is making so much sense. And even with myself, it's like, even in the partnership, I had to do a lot of internal work, right? Before meeting the partner I have now, because I went through two divorces. But it was like I was trying to fill somebody, I wanted somebody to fill my mother's shoe or my father's shoe to keep me safe and protect me. And they couldn't do that because they were dealing with their own constellations of their own families
Yes.
and how it keeps growing. And here we have this whole world that's, wow, this can utilize your medicine.
100%. And what Bert Hellinger says, he used to say about the when two constellations come together, right? So it's a very special thing because I come from one family system. Let's say in my family system, everybody wakes up early. That's my family system rule. We all had like that kind of family system. And I married with someone's family system that came from a family system that's everybody's more relaxed. They like to party. So, and to me, I will look at that and I will put judgment and I will put whatever it is that's going on. So when I marry someone, you're going to have to understand now you are forming your own family system. that brings a little bit of yours, a little bit of them. So you cannot expect it's going to be your system. You
Mhm.
know, you're not marrying anyone like your brother. Since you're married, it is strange. It's like it's someone totally, it's an alien for you.
Mhm.
This is so natural actually, that it's so healthy, that's why, not saying like we, of course we can have relationships with men and men, women and women, but for life to be created, it needed to happen a man and a woman,
Mhm.
like an egg and the sperm.
Mhm.
That's how life is generated. Doesn't matter if that sperm is donated, or that man is necessary, that woman is necessary. So that's the way life is created, by putting together two different beings, a man and a woman, two different systems.
Mhm.
And then the wisdom to understand what that come from my system that will be useful, and what I will have to adapt. Because like some people, especially like people never been to therapy, they come from other generations, they would, I heard that a lot when I am in Brazil actually, especially from older people, they say, in my family we do this way. In my family, this is not acceptable. Yeah, you're no longer in our family.
Right.
Now you have a third thing being formed.
You're recreating
Yeah.
a new family. That is so interesting. I love how all this is kind of just coming together, and this whole hierarchy of it all, and how it plays, because we really don't think of, well, we have an understanding, like, yeah, whatever. I came from a jacked up past or whatever. I had trauma, but instead of fixing or dealing with it, you just keep going. And it sounds like with the constellation, what you offer, it helps people open their eyes to what's actually happening, right?
Yeah, and how it does, like, let me just explain, because
Yeah.
people will say, but what they are talking about, understand the concept, but how that happens. So it's hard to explain without showing.
Mm.
I always found that challenge when I start to work with constellations, like as a certified systemic therapist in 2021, and was, oh, how can I introduce that, especially here in the US, because in Brazil it became very popular because Bert Hellinger, even though he's German, he spent like 20 years going a lot to Brazil. And I study with these couple of doctors that they were bringing him like for 20 years. So like I kind of drank from the source, which was great to me. But it's a group setting. So we're going to put together a group of people, could be 8, 12, 20 people. And Bert Hellinger seminars, there was like 400 people. So one person will present what's going on. Let's say that woman wants to find a man, and like it's been years trying relationships, never worked. So let's find out what's the blockage, what's behind that. And it could be anything. We don't know now. We have to see the constellation. So that woman, I will hear the very minimum about her problem. I don't need the whole history. I just need like very concise. I want to marry and I don't find a partner. And then we're gonna bring from the group, usually people she doesn't know, they don't know her, and each one will represent some aspect of her life. For example, one will represent the mother, another one the father, another one the block or the blockage or anything. It depends on each situation. So those people now are called representatives because they are no longer being themselves. They are representing something to help that person, but it's not acting. You don't force anything. You don't, it's not like acting. And how it called, this is the field. We are tapping into your field now, Jennifer. Let's say it's you. Like now let's tap into Jennifer's field. It's a morphologic field From that moment, the representatives are in their character, they start to act like Jennifer's family members now and feel like so much that sometimes already happens. Some of that person in your family has epilepsy,
Mm.
for example, and then the person start to feel like having epilepsy. That could happen. Like I represent people that I didn't know. I start to cough, like cough, 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 no stop, crisis. And I say, what is this? Then the person said, actually, this person has lung cancer.
Wow.
And once I tap into the field, I start coughing like non-stop, like for minutes. So uh, how that happened,
Yeah.
that's the part
Like
that's
you
it.
said, I'm like, wait.
How that happened. It's scientific, it's not scientific. That doesn't matter.
Mm.
It matters that hundreds of constellations again and again and again, it happens. And it's very easy actually. Uh, and it's automatic. That wouldn't happen unless the person doesn't want. I
Mm.
say, I'm not trying to that. Not, I'm resisting, of course. You're not going to surrender, but as long as you are like a little bit relaxed with no judgment, no fear, just offering your energy, your body to feel, that will come. And this way, we're going to see the movement in the field, how sometimes the husband or the wife is turned back to the husband
Mm.
and is walking towards the floor, for example. So the floor, when the representative looks to the floor, usually is that person, a person in the system who died. Depends on the way they move, could be their own child, like a miscarriage.
This is so incredible because from hearing what you're saying, you just by agreeing, and this is the person who's, yeah, I want to do the family constellation, and just getting strangers to just volunteer as well and agree, the key agree, and have the intention to just be a like a vessel in a sense. And you can see how everything, how the mother, the all the things, whatever it is that you're focusing on, all works together.
Yes, and then we feel in this way, we feel what's going on. We see what's going on in that field.
Mm.
But because sometimes what happened as well, there is a lot of the situations. I remember one constellation in Los Angeles. There was this girl. She had problem with men. She felt like always threatening, or she was in very like in her masculine energy. So when we brought the constellation, what she said is that her grandfather used to like be aggressive towards her grandmother.
Mm.
So that's why she like was very concerned about men relationships. But when we put those two together, the grandfather and grandmother, they were hugging each other.
Hmm.
They were just fine. They were happy. And the soul level, like there was no conflict in that situation. And not saying again is right or wrong. This is just what we saw. So sometimes as young people, we have a lot of judgment
Mm.
with a lot of situations that happened, but we were not there. We are judging from this timeline where we live. We were judging from a place that is not our position because it's a totally different perspective.
Right. And I was gonna,
So
yeah.
exactly. So like sometimes, and at the same time, when you do that, you don't understand that that's not your destiny. That's their destiny. And we started to agree that they choose their destiny in a certain way because there was most of the time there are choices. So from the time that you agree, you say, you know what? I'm glad you did that way, Grandma. And I'm so sorry because I thought that you suffered and maybe you did, but it still was your choice, or maybe not. But it worked out enough that the life came. Because if it wasn't that grandfather to be who they are, maybe wouldn't be with your grandmother, and maybe you wouldn't be here.
Mhm.
So imperfect couple they were. Your grandfather was drunk, aggressive, cheating, or but still imagine it, if he was different, maybe the relationship would never have existed. You wouldn't be here. So everything the way it was allowed you to be here. And you see how provoking it is. In the beginning, when you start to talk, say, what are you talking about? Like you're saying this is right things. It's not right or wrong, it's reality. And
Mhm.
because it was reality for your ancestors, now you can choose differently for yourself because you don't need to live their destiny. You can leave the destiny to them, their destiny to them. No judge, no criticize, so just gratitude.
That's a, wow. Yeah. Wow. And it's like saying, this is not mine. I don't need to hold on to this. And and it's like this part of us, we're living each day thinking that this is our decision and we're taking in someone else's story and
No,
making it.
but wait. When I judge, do you remember the exclusion, the law of belonging? Everybody has to really belong the way they are. When I judge, it's a form of exclusion because now I'm excluding that behavior. I don't want that. Why I end up attracting as men as that granddaughter? A man who will abuse me like my grandfather did to my grandmother
Mm,
because I'm not accepting and not loving my grandfather the way they were, just great with it. Sin love is not a proof of them. It's just agree they are like the reality, but not say that is right thing to be aggressive towards your wife. But that was the reality. Now I bring that same personality to connect because maybe I'm gonna love a man. I really will. Exactly like my grandfather. This is the way I bring him back.
wow. This is
And
profound.
you understand there is no determinism. Like why in some families this sequence of events happen that way and another they don't.
Mhm.
It depends on your own posture towards the circumstance. As more you judge, you repress, you want to push away, more you bring back.
Mhm.
As more you accept, you agree, you can be then with their own destiny and separate from that to build your own destiny.
That's beautiful. And I love how you're explaining this, and I know this is just a bit of the iceberg, right? And I'm just like, and
Girl, there is so much.
thank you for inviting me to your group. What is it? A group?
Family Constellation, it's an online group. I'm backing offering. I was giving a break, doing my sabbatical because I traveled like for 9 months around the world. And I spent like 2 months in Bali. I've been to Australia, to Japan, and Brazil back home, like for 2 months,
Mhm.
until I moved to Salt Lake City. That
Mhm.
was 2 months ago. So I'm getting organized, and now I'm back to have online group constellations once a month.
Okay.
So I will let you know, Jennifer, the next date that I'm gonna pick, and I will love to you and your audience to be there. You
Yeah.
were my guests.
This is thank you for sharing this. And anyone who wants to heal those parts of themselves or just even learn more, you know, I will be putting the information below. But before we end this, Camila, what is something, and I ask everyone who comes on here because, there's a story behind the person who we're seeing today. And what is that one thing that you wish you knew or that you would want others to know that you wish you can tell yourself back then or even now, or that you would like to share with others, what would that be?
Connect with what it is.
Connect with what it is.
Accept and embrace what it is. Connect to reality. It
Mm,
doesn't matter what it is, because bad and good is just a perspective. Sometimes we think something is good, and this is a judgment as well. That's good. And sometimes it's good, good, good. We don't know like why we'll come out of that. It's
mm,
because we, as humans, we always want things to be so good. And actually, the things that we judge bad are hold the biggest gifts because they're actually not bad. If you wait that unfold, something good can come out with a situation that we judge. I lost my job, how bad it is. I lost this relationship, how bad. And sometimes that was like, oh my goodness, it's years ahead. Like that was wonderful that happened. So just like accept things that as they are, not judging. This is a bad thing. This is a good thing. This is what it is. I'm grateful for everything.
mm.
That's what I would love to know before, but I'm grateful. I'm know now.
Thank you. That is so beautiful. I love that. I will definitely be writing that down. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Camila, for
Thank you, Jennifer. I love to be here.
yes,
Let's do it again.
yes, please, please. Thank you for sharing your
and
story, your wisdom, and your knowledge. I appreciate it.
and for your audience, I'm hosting a once a month family constellation where you all are welcome to join. And basically, you can bring any life issue, could be health. Some people they bring like I have this allergy or I have this condition or there's a struggle financially. I'm doing constellations for business as well. You can bring your business or your careers or options or which one should I go. Everything is possible to constellate in the group. And for those who represent in the constellation, it's a wonderful experience. You've been there,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So you know, like as like just to be helping someone, and even for those who just watch what's going on. That's what I say. Always the constellations that are going on, because of course in one session we don't have time. Like maybe you're gonna constellation one, two, three people, but everybody benefits.
Amazing, amazing. So Camila's information will be below her website and her Instagram and other means of connecting with her so that you guys can hear more, learn more, heal, and just be able to, like she shared, accept, right? Accept reality. So thank you, Camila.
Thank you, Jennifer.